Hello and welcome, everybody. Ooh, I already forgot my words and I didn't even had any sip of my beer yet. I'm Anna Gibson with AKG Design Studio, and we're here for another wonderful broadcast of Design Tips and Sips. So, what is Design Tips and Sips? At AKG Design Studio, we believe that we want to incorporate your lifestyle with the design, and everything that is going on in your life is part of our design, part of your space, part of your home. So every week we host somebody else that helps us talk about our lifestyle, something that impact our lifestyle. And we are excited today to have Holli Shan with us. I've known Holli for, oh my gosh, forever and a day, and much too long to mention. And Holly is absolutely fantastic. She is an animal communicator. So I thought it will be a great thing to bring her to chat with us today because everybody's at home and I see that everybody is talking about, oops, sorry. I see that everybody is talking about their pets. So a lot of people brought new pets to their homes. So whether they were alone or just wanted to have a little bit more companion and bring a little bit more comfort and compassion to their home. So I know this is great because a lot of the shelters are empty and the rescues are really actually doing great. Especially if you're home alone, this is a great way for you. If you are quarantine alone, is to have some company. I know it's very hard for some of the people that are single. And then for us, that we have cats and dogs, and it's definitely a change in lifestyle for them as well. So I thought that would be fantastic to chat with Holly today. So I will let Holly introduce herself. Hi, Holly. Welcome.
Hi, Anna.
Please give us this, who you are, what you do.
Sure. And thank you, Anna, for having me here. This is a lot of fun. I'm glad to be here. So the short story is, my name is Holli Shan, and I'm a diehard animal lover, and so turn that passion into a I guess lifestyle, a livelihood, if you will. So I'm an intuitive animal communicator. So I help people understand what their pets are thinking. So for anyone who has ever asked the question, what the heck is my pet thinking? And they're frustrated with the behavior, I can help them out with that. And I am also a soon to be certified pet loss grief counselor.
Oh, wow.
So
That's awesome. That is very interesting. So we'll talk about loss and grief later. We do have several friends that unfortunately lost their pets during that pandemic now. So I feel that makes it even more difficult during those times. So tell me, like I have a sign in my house that says everybody needs a cat and a dog. I don't know where that sign is. Somewhere upset. A cat, a dog to tell them how wonderful person they are, and a cat to remind them that they're not. So obviously, cats and dog has very different personalities. Uh,
mhm.
so, what is your take? What do you think is going on with them right now, especially now because suddenly from not being at home, I work from home, so it's a little bit different, but I still go in and out, and I still have full days that I'm gone. And now it's different because even if I do leave for a little bit, my husband, my kid, everybody's at home 24/7. So how does that affect our pets?
Well, it affects them because our pets need a routine. They like having some kind of a routine, and and so it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, even when we're home, we can still we can still incorporate some kind of a routine. Whether if you're getting up at a particular day or a particular time, when you get up, and then okay, then they might know, okay, great, when you get up and do this, and this means I get fed, and when you put your shoes on, that means I'm probably going on an outing. I can't say the other word, otherwise my dog is going to think he's going.
Right.
So, but things like that, they want us, they love us, and they want us to have fun, and also they want us to be, part. They want us to be part of them. So they love the fact that that we're here, and of course, they want to be able to help us through any kind of anxieties and things like that, because they get it. They know what's going on with us, and they want to help. They're total and absolute helpers with that. So, but what people can do now is see if you can maintain some kind of a routine, whatever that is.
Which is good. And we talked to Lori, our psychologist, last week, and I think that was another thing that she said. And the week before, we talked to Janet, the organizer, and I think we really see the underline here for everybody is to keep a routine. So whether it's for us, whether it's for our kids, and now for our pets. So what are some of the strategies of when it's going to be time to go back to work? And now I'm sure everybody's going to be in shock. All our bodies, all our emotion, everybody's going to be suddenly in shock that we actually have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, shower, go to the office, go do whatever we want, and come back. So how do we ease ourselves? How do we ease our pets into it?
Well, you want to start small, right? You want to, when you take on anything, or when you're going to make any kind of a change, in your life, you want to start small. So start with getting up at 6. Consistently get up at 6. And then from there, okay, get up at 6 and actually take your shower. Because how many memes have we seen, on Facebook or wherever on social media saying, oh, I haven't showered for this many days.
I
Okay, first
just
off,
showered. Look at that. And it's really funny because you said about that visual cues for pets. So I know that back in the day, when I used to go to the shower, my dog Oliver, which if you follow me on social media, you've seen him. He's our office mascot. He knew that I'm leaving the house, so he would go to his crate. But usually it was sometime normal, early in the morning or midday when I was leaving. But now he is so confused. He just randomly goes to his crate because he doesn't spend any time there because we don't go there. We don't leave the house, or if we leave the house, we maybe both me and my husband go for a run, and maybe my daughter's, at her dad's house. So the house might be empty for an hour. So we're not going to lock him up for that. So he's just so confused. So he just randomly just goes and sit in the crate, and it's not his favorite place. I know there are some dogs they love to sit in their crate. It's their safe spot. He's not. So it's just so random. He just goes and sit there, and he's like, are you going to leave? Are you today? Someday? No.
Yeah, my dog is similar, because if he sees me getting my socks and shoes on, or if I tell him that I have to go, then he'll go ahead and do his crate, because normally, my husband would be the one who's leaving first, because he leaves earlier, than I do. So if my dog sees me getting my shoes on now, and if I say I have to go, then he'll go ahead and get into his crate regardless. So so even those times, like when you're leaving, go ahead and, if the routine is have them get into their crate, go ahead and have them get into their crate. Do that routine. Say your vocal cues, whatever that sentence is, whatever that action is. If it's putting your shoes on, if it's saying, okay, time to go, whatever, whatever that is, go ahead and keep that in mind, keep that in motion. And even if it's just going out for a jog, going out for a walk, even if you just want to go out for a drive, things like that, those are all still part of the routine, because it's still within time, and you're consistently reinforcing that cue.
Gotcha. So I totally forgot about our sips. So it's a good time. So what are you sipping? I know you have a long evening. So
yes. So I'm actually sipping water. This is not Everclear. It's not moonshine. It is not. It's not vodka. It's not a clear rum either. Although, my God, I love rum. No, this is just water. Yeah, here we go. So this is just water, because I do have a pretty I do have communications that I need to do after this, so I need to be on point and not out there. Otherwise, yes, I would probably be drinking mead or Cabernet Sauvignon, something like that. And I see you've got the Old Ox.
Yeah, so I have Old Ox, the Aloha Ox, which is again a local brewery here in Ashburn, Virginia. And I don't know why it's giving us the blue screen effect, but it's actually green, so that's why it looks like.
That's why.
Yeah, and this is the bright citrus. It's hoppy pale ale. I'm not a big fan of pale ale, and I'm not a big fan of that Hefeweizen Blue Moon flavor that is taste like rotten orange juice. I don't know why people really enjoy it, but I have to say this one is very light, so I'm actually enjoying it. So cheers to Old Ox. They have wonderful beers, and they're right off the WD Trail, so you can go for a run and grab a to-go beer. And they also have their own running groups and other social activities, but obviously everything is on hold. But you can definitely drive by and grab some beers to go. So cheers to Old Ox.
Cheers.
Oh, quite refreshing.
I will have to give that one a try because I'm not an IPA hoppy person either. Although oddly enough, I enjoy Hefeweizens, but that one, but that sounds really good. So if you like this one, I'll have to give them a try.
It's actually very light. It's almost like a sour, so I like it. So I'm actually enjoying it. So tell me how one wakes up one morning and realizes that he can communicate with animals, because I don't know.
Well, it's because I've always wanted to, and that one day I saw my dogs looking at me and I was looking at them and I said, I know you're trying to tell me something and I have no idea what it is. And I knew about animal communicators, so I decided to go learn. And so, and I learned.
So there's education for that. So there's actually a school that you can go and learn.
There's classes, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I also teach the basic class as well.
Okay.
So
you recently got recertified, right? Or something? Didn't you say something about your grief counseling?
Yes. Yeah, that's the grief counseling, but no, but I do continuing education. When classes come up from the various teachers that I've learned from, so I will take those. I'll take advanced classes and what have you. But this is something that communicating intuitively is something that everybody is capable of. If there's one thing, the one takeaway that I want everybody who's watching to understand, you can all do this. Everybody can do this because we did it when we were kids. Kids are naturals at it. And the way I put it is like this. For those of you who are parents who have kids, you know for a fact that they are up to something or doing something when they are not in your sight line. You don't have to see them. You just know in your absolute gut that something's going on. It is that same feeling. It's that same sense that we have that allows us to communicate intuitively with animals. It's the exact same thing. We can do the exact same thing. All y'all can do it.
And you're teaching those classes. So we'll post the information. So if anyone wants to understand more and talk more to their pets, they can understand and talk to them and communicate with them. So let's talk a little bit about grief, because we do have some friends that lost their pets during this time, and it's always very difficult, no matter what the situation, whether you're in quarantine or not, whether you're in safe and home or not. It's a difficult situation. What are some of the tools that, and also, I don't know, like, do you have any tools maybe of how do you know that it's time to let go of your pet?
That's a really huge and very personal question. In terms of, and everybody asks it, well, when do I know it's time to let go? When do I know that it's time? And it's different and unique for everyone. So for some people, they get that sign, and because some people say, oh well, you'll get that look, and for some people get that look, and for some people they don't. So every situation is going to be unique.
Okay.
So, and that's something that's incredibly personal, and it's really something between the person and their animal.
Got it.
It's very unique, and it's very, very personal. Um, what was the second part of the question? Sorry.
So how do you work with them, or what is the work that you're doing when you're working on the grief over the pet?
Oh, sure, yeah. So what I do is I work with the people. So because you have someone who is in pain, because they've lost a being, a being that's been in their family, someone they've had an emotional bond with, and and they're grieving. It's no different than grieving the loss, of someone else. It's no different than that. The grief is still it's very real. And so what I do in the role of a helper or pet loss grief counselor is to help them through that, is to help them basically, because we all have the answers. It just takes someone else to help them, to help the person realize that, oh yeah, I can do this, and this is what's true for me, and this is what helps. So I help them be able to speak into their emotions and to create a safe space and a non-judgmental space for them to talk about what they need and to talk about what's going on with them, and to be able to help give them a tool or two to, if they need it, to move on towards healing. Because the only way around grief is to work through it.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. That is a really, really, really great tip. So do we have anyone that has any question to Holly before I jump in with all my million questions that I have? If you have any questions, just write them in the comments, and I can ask Holly. Let's see if I have anything here in my. Hi, Heather. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions about your pets, about how they're reacting, just any question. And by the way, communicating with pets, I know we're talking about more domestic pets like cats and dogs, but Holly, you communicate with other animals as well, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Any species.
And
Any species at all. So communicate with, with horses, fish, birds, lizards, any species across the animal kingdom.
wow. So what do fish usually think other than not to sweat all the time?
Well, with this one, it wasn't even so much of what they thought, but it
Mhm.
was more, I had someone who had asked about what their feelings were about a particular, did they like where they were?
Mhm.
Because there was, a tank, I think in a nursing home or something like that, and were they happy being there? And and the general consensus was, yeah, we're good,
I
we
guess
like it.
as long as it's wet and they get fed. I don't know,
And
like
they have room to swim.
yes, yeah. So
Yep.
yeah, I don't know how how fish can be like unhappy. I don't know. Maybe I have to watch Nemo, right? Nemo. There was a lot of that's why they went on a big adventure.
Right. But yeah, it's really interesting because they all have like this different energy and this different tone and how they communicate. But it's all really neat, and I just find it fascinating, and I love it.
So I have a question for you. So as interior designer,
Hmm.
and we walk into client homes. Uh, so when I walk by myself, of course, I smell out of my dog, and I always try to connect with the animal that in the house. The cats. I'm not a cat person. Don't tell it to anyone. But they love sitting in my bag. It's so funny. I used to have this big red duffel bag that has all my stuff, and there was not a house that I would walk in that the cat would not sit in there. It's like, okay, I don't know what's with that bag, but it was like the main attraction to every cat. But I'm always very courteous and very I really try to connect with the pet when I walk into the house. So I know I wrote a blog somewhere. I have to find it, and I'm sure I'm going to interview for that again to renew that with some additional information. But uh, when we actually start doing the remodeling and they're all upheaval comes up, what are some of the ideas for homeowners to help reduce the stress on the animal? Because there's a lot of dust, there's a lot of mess, there's a lot of commotion, there's a lot of new people in the house. How are some of the, and of course every animal reacts differently, depends on their level of comfort. But how is what are some of the things that we can do to alleviate, whether on my end or some things that I can advise to my clients on how to deal with that?
Sure. If it's possible, I would say, either board them or get them out of the house while the construction's happening, because it is disruptive enough on the humans that are living in the house, especially depending on how big your remodel is. Because with the, like you're saying, with the dust and the particles and everything, it's just so disruptive. So,
and it's not safe for them. It's absolutely not safe. So
no.
we always ask the homeowner to lock up the pet somewhere, but sometimes, that's not something that you might stress the pet out way more than yeah.
Yeah. So see if you can board them, or see if somebody can watch them, for the time, while the renovation's going, while the renovation is in its full stride, during the day. Like, let's see, maybe the vet can watch them. Maybe there's, a doggy daycare, or maybe there's a kitty daycare. Maybe there's a friend who can, where they can come over there watch, or a pet sitter who does in-home pet sitting, something like that. And then when they go for the day, when the construction workers have gone, then of course you can bring the animal back. You can let them sniff around, of course, and so at least they can be home and sleep with the family. And then just keep doing that, because this way they're still home, but they're not in the middle of everything. Because yes, that's absolutely, it's scary, because you have these construction people going in and out of the house, and you want to make sure that your animal decides to not make a run for it.
Right.
And also, by the other flip side of it, you don't want your animal getting entangled with a construction worker either. With a contractor, I should say. Because if you have a dog who's particularly defensive and territorial, you don't want them, interrupting their work because they're going after this guy, or barking like crazy in another room because they're locked up in the other room. So I would highly recommend, if you can do it, get them out of the house. Get them out of the house, board them someplace that you trust and that the animals trust too.
Okay, that's a great idea. So we have a question here.
Okay.
Our dog is 11-year-old and seems to be stuck on stairs, either going up or down. He's much slower or need encouragement. He starts going up, down. He's 8. How do you approach this challenge to get him to overcome stairs as he gets older? So I don't think that, like, the challenge, because this is my dog.
Sure.
I don't think that it's a matter of age. Is like, he pretends that he's scared of stairs, which is a new thing, because he always goes up and down the stairs. We always lived in houses with stairs, and he stands on top of the stairs, on top of the basement stairs, and he whines until I go and I tell them, "It's okay, Oliver, you can do it." And then he's just like, "Oh, look, I came down the stairs." Like, what's up with that?
So I would wonder, because since he's an older dog now, because since he's what, 11 years old? Okay, yeah. Since he's 11 and since he's older, I would start to wonder how is his vision, how is his depth perception now, how are his joints, is he moving as well as he could on some, because stairs can be hard when you've got arthritis. And I'm certainly, not a vet by any stretch of the imagination, but I would certainly check that out. And if he's crying and you give him a cue, hey, it's okay, then you're still giving him something for him to focus on. So it could be that maybe he's, not quite seeing the stairs as well as he could. Like, he might not be tracking it in his mind as well as he could. And so that's probably why he's not. So I would, for that, I would wonder, is there something medical going on? Is there some kind of beginning phase of something medical going on?
Yeah, and honestly, I do think that it's his vision.
Mm-hmm.
We go to his annual checkup, but I do think that it's in his vision because all the time I go to sleep after Andy, and
Mm-hmm.
the lights are it's really dark in the room, and so I actually use my phone to light up the space a little bit so he can find his spot
Mm-hmm.
into his little bed. But beyond that, he seems to be very agile. Like you'll see him running outside during the
Mm-hmm.
day and he's running around like he's a 2-year old puppy. Like so I don't think it's his joint as much as I think it might be his
His
vision. So
vision.
it's a really good reminder to go and take him to his annual checkup. So
Mm-hmm.
another design question that I have is we do a lot of stuff for pets. People want to incorporate their pet feeding stations in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any problem with that, other than obviously putting in a space that is safe? And the one thing that really somewhat bothers me is when I do feeding station, again, being a pet owner and a designer, I always put somewhere where the food and especially the water is always accessible. Some of
Absolutely.
the design that I see are encapsulated or like in a drawer, but then it makes me think, well, eventually you want to close this door. How do your dog gets into the water? So what are some of the things that you think about that are, is it good to have the dog in the kitchen, eating in the kitchen? I know some people think, well, maybe he should be in the mudroom and not where the humans eat. Like, what are your thoughts about
I
that?
mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with having them in the kitchen. The one thing that you have to consider is what kind of flooring is going into your kitchen,
Right,
because if you have a dog that is a particularly sloppy drinker, they go ahead and, like, bearded dogs, for example, like, my dog is a schnauzer. He comes up and he drips everywhere. So you want to make sure you have a flooring that can handle it, or that you're constantly wiping up after them, because I know we've got one little piece of our engineered hardwood that water stayed on it, and it just started to delam a little bit just on the top. So we moved his food, but we also now put a mat down. So you want to be mindful
right,
of what kind of flooring it is. Make sure that you have a mat as well, just to protect that area, and also be sure you're willing to clean it up. I am not a fan of the food. Maybe like for the food dishes you can put in a drawer, but I feel like there should always be access to water,
right,
hands down. I mean, unless if, like, now if they're created, or, like, let's say, for example, if you're having people over, and it's a big party and you want to be able to close it up to, make your line pretty, then okay, sure, I can understand that. But you can also make sure to, put it in a discreet corner. I don't think it's a problem to have it in the kitchen. Now, having said that, if you have multiple dogs, not every multiple dog household can eat together.
right.
So one time we had two dogs, one ate in the kitchen and one ate by the fireplace. So you have to leave that distance. So it depends on their situation. And another thing about design too is to make sure that there is so much cabinet space, storage and cabinet space, because the way you prevent counter cruising, if you've got bigger dogs, or if you have a dog that is smart enough to get up on the table or the counter to go help themselves to whatever is there, put it up and away in the cabinet space. Make sure they have the space to put that away. Cabinets, cabinets, cabinets. Put it away.
Yeah, put it away. Yeah, I we actually did a design in Arlington, and we had to look at very durable materials for her because she said that the dog is absolutely jumps on the counter, the kitchen counter all the time, which for me is like I was terrified because I'm like I'm putting this beautiful countertop for you and the dog is going to be jumping. I'm like maybe you should work a little bit more with the dog.
Yeah.
But to each his own. I'm not judging anyone.
Hmm.
Um, that's probably also the reason why I don't have cats, because I don't like them walking on the countertops, and there's nothing you can do about cats to prevent them to go on the countertop, at least as far as I know. All right, do we have any? We're almost done. Do we have any other questions to Holly? If not, I'm going to give Holly a minute or so to talk a little bit about the programs that she has to offer and how you can connect with her offline and online and after the show.
So, all right. Well, cool. I guess I'll just start talking, and we'll see what questions come on in.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So yeah, there's a few different things that are going on at the end of the month. I'm hosting a virtual Yappy Hour, which is for free, and this is where the photo bombs or the Zoom bombs of your cats, your dogs, your animals are totally welcome, and that's a free event. And then I also have a free Facebook group as well called the Peaceful Pet Playground. It's a drama-free group where it's just people who enjoy their pets. So there's that. And then let's see. And then for services, then I'm available for animal communication services. I have a 3-month program, all the way to something from that. I have a 90-minute intensive as well as an hourly one-off program as well. And people can call me just to find out what would be the best fit for them, or just send me an email at holly@compassionspeaks.com.
Excellent. So what's the difference? Like, what's the benefit of, what a situation will be that something that I need 90 minutes versus something that is like, will take 3 months to figure it out?
So for Oliver, for your particular case, I would suggest either I would suggest the hour, because it doesn't seem like it's a very chronic problem. It doesn't seem like it's a very deep problem. Someone, like, let's say if they had, like, for the 3-month, if there's an issue with the group of animals, or if there is an ongoing chronic deep issue, if it's something that's really deeply rooted in the animal, that's going to take a little bit more time to do. That would require, the 3-month problem, or program rather. And then you have the 90-minute intensive, where we go a little bit more deeply into what the issue is. So, and we could even do a 90-minute intensive for Oliver as well. We can talk a little bit more about about what's going on, his history, things that are going on around him, and then of course have the direct communication with him, and then that also has and that would have a follow-up afterwards too.
That's cool. And that service that you offer, and you offer it virtually, and it's always been virtually, right? So
Yep.
Unless you're going to do the pet shows, this is great that you don't really need to leave your house. Obviously your pet is somewhere around here anyway, unless they're a cat. So that's pretty easy to do it virtually, no matter where you are in the world. So it doesn't matter where they live or where they're located, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. In fact, actually, this is more so for grief counseling, but just to give you an idea, working virtually, I've communicated with people in South Africa, in Wales, in Hawaii, in Australia, and Belize. I can also work over email. And that's just a bunch of transcripts. I write out the transcript of, my question and their reaction, and, my feelings and everything about it. So you get a full written transcript, depending on what the issue is and what you've decided to do.
Excellent. That is fantastic. Well, again, thank you so much. So this has been another edition of Design Tips and Sips with me, Anna Gibson, with AKG Design Studio. So things that we learned today was that keep it consistent, right? For your pet, and try to stay on somewhat of a schedule to help him go through this time. And make sure you have durable floors. If you are redoing your kitchen or your space or wherever you're feeding them, make sure you have durable space, but feeding them in the kitchen is perfectly okay. And then, and if you want to learn, if you have any particular problem with your pet that you don't understand, I highly recommend reaching to Holly. She helped me with Oliver before. She told me he was bored, which I figure that much, because I was working from home, but working pretty much 17 hours in front of my computer. So it was a good way for both me and Oliver to disconnect a little bit from my work and go out and play. So it was beneficial to both of us. So if you have any questions, welcome to, we will post all Holli's contact information, and she has to run to her next group. And again, we'll post all her information so you can reach out to her and learn more about how she's communicating and how she can help you with your pet. And thank you so much and have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Holly.
Thank,
Have a good
thank,
night. Thanks.
thank you, Anna. You too. Bye bye.
Bye.